When we think of Middle-earth's most powerful or resilient beings, we imagine the immortal elves, the fiery Maiar, the ancient dwarven kings, or perhaps the proud Númenóreans of the West. But when the Dark Lord Sauron reigned strong, when the One Ring emerged from lost legend, when the fate of all life hung on a thread, the greatest resistance, the strongest defiance, did not come from power. It came from a race who loved gardening, second breakfast, and a quiet life in a far corner of the world. Today we look at the lore explaining why hobbits resisted the One Ring better than any other race in Tolkien's Legendarium. Let's get into the video. Let's start with the nature of the One Ring and Tolkien's own explanation. The ring is a will amplifier. In letter 246, Tolkien describes the ring as a psychic amplifier, enhancing the inherent power and desires of its bearer. Its danger is not to abstract evil, it is the magnification of what already exists inside a person. If you crave power, the ring offers limitless power. If you fear death, the ring promises escape. If you long for beauty, the ring offers terrible preservation. If you envy others, the ring whispers domination. Tolkien exemplifies, the ring corrupts through desire. This means the ring requires something to work with, and this is where the hobbits begin to stand apart. Now let's go what hobbits value. Tolkien describes hobbits in the Fellowship of the Ring chapter 1 as they are merry folk, fond of peace and quiet and good-tilled earth. He continues, they have little or no magic about them, but they are hardier than they look, and most importantly, they do not and did not understand machinery more complicated than forged bellows. This sounds whimsical, but it is deeply relevant. The One Ring is a technological instrument of domination. It is not compatible with beings who have no concept of desire or domination. Because what do hobbits want? They want food, comfort, family, stability, anonymity, and familiarity. They do not want power, immortality, conquest, fame, wealth, empire, or magical interest. This is the largest single factor in their resistance. The ring cannot amplify desires that do not exist. Let's get a hobbit's humility as a shield against corruption. Pride is the downfall of nearly every other race. Elves, their pride led to rebellion, kingslayings, exile, and the doom of Mandos. Their greatest flaw is their desire to preserve beauty and memory. The ring weaponizes this flaw by offering absolute preservation. Then let's look at men. Their flaw is to fear death and envy of the elves. The ring offers them the illusion of power beyond death. For dwarves, their flaw is possessiveness and treasure lust. The ring promises them dominion over wealth and craft. And let's even look at the Maiar, or the wizards. Their flaw is intellectual pride. Saruman falls because he wants to order all things, but hobbits have none of these temptations. Tolkien says in letter 131, hobbits represent the ordinary, unambitious people, the most resistant to evil. Their humility is not passivity, it is psychological armour. The ring's first and most potent corruption, pride, had no foothold in them. Now let's look at the Shire as a cultural fortress, a society designed to resist temptation. The Shire is a place with no kings, no hereditary rulers, no obsession with bloodlines, contrasting greatly to places like Númenor, Gondor, and Arnor. They have no wealth inequality. There is no hoarding in the Shire, unlike the treasure lords of the dwarves. They also have no standing armies. They are not trained to conquer or defend vast territories. Something else that's unique about them, they have no famous heroes. Even Bilbo is treated as eccentric, not legendary. And most importantly, they have little interest in magic or power. Gandalf is admired mostly for his fireworks. This cultural humility in itself is a bulwark. A hobbit's place in society does not encourage ambition. Now let's look at hobbits and natural magic resistance. Gandalf explicitly states, in the shadow of the past, hobbits seem to have a resistance to the domination of others. This line is extremely important. Domination, the bending of wills, is Sauron's core method of control. The ring is an instrument for domination. Therefore, any being resistant to domination is resistant to the ring. Hobbits are not magically resistant in ways elves are. Their resistance is temperamental, not mystical. Their minds are stubborn in quiet ways. Their wills are anchored in simple, grounding things. like home, food, gardens, and loyalty. This reduces the ring's psychological leverage over the race. Now let's compare the races. Let's look at hobbits versus men. Men fall quickly due to fear of death, desire for power, anxiety, and ambition. The entire downfall of Numenor occurs because men cannot accept mortality. Hobbits, by contrast, fully accept mortality. They do not envy the elves, do not fear death obsessively, and do not cling to legacy. This is critical. The ring offers men their greatest temptation. Hobbits simply just don't want it. Now let's look at hobbits versus the elves. Elves have powerful wills, but they are vulnerable due to memory, longing, desire for preservation, spiritual pride, and sorrow of fading. Galadriel's refusal of the ring is a monumental achievement, but note just how tempting it truly is to her. Hobbits have no longing for immortal lands, no desire to preserve Arda from decay, no Tolkienian burden of memory, and no trauma stretching back millennia. This makes them lighter, psychologically speaking. The ring's temptation passes over them like wind over tall grass. Now let's look at hobbits versus dwarves. Dwarves cannot be corrupted into wraiths, but greed, possessiveness, and wounded pride cause them to fall under Sauron's influence, as seen with the Seven Rings. Whereas hobbits have almost no treasure lust. Most of them do not lock their doors. The ring cannot seduce them with wealth. And now let's look at hobbits versus wizards. Even Gandalf refuses the ring out of fear of corruption. He says, "I would become like the Dark Lord himself." Wizards are vulnerable to pride masked as wisdom. Hobbits are blessedly free of that burden. Now let's look at some individual case studies of hobbits, starting of course with Bilbo Baggins. He held the ring for 6 decades. This is nearly impossible for any mortal. In letter 246, Tolkien explains, Bilbo began his career with a good soul and an unambitious nature. His possession was unintentional, and he never used the ring for domination. Gollum called Bilbo thief, but the ring's influence is delayed compared to Gollum because Bilbo uses it rarely, uses it without malice, does not cover it, and has a good life that fulfills him. When asked to give it up, he experiences hysterical devotion, a clear sign of corruption, but he still manages to relinquish it. This is unprecedented. Now let's look at Frodo Baggins. Frodo's endurance is the most storied. Tolkien writes, Frodo was exceptional among hobbits, with a great strength of spirit. His endurance combined hobbits' resilience, moral courage, empathy, a sense of duty, personal sacrifice. He resists the ring for longer under far greater stress, more than any other being in the Third Age. His failure at Mount Doom is not a weakness, but an inevitability Tolkien insists upon. No one can resist the ring forever. Now let's look at Samwise Gamgee. Sam is the ultimate example. He wears the ring. He experiences its temptation. He sees himself as Samwise the Strong, hero of the age, but he gives it up instantly. Tolkien explains Sam's immunity in letter 181. Sam is virtually immune because he has little ambition and small imagination of power, and because of his pure devotion to Frodo. Sam's love is stronger than the ring's promises. No other character in the entire Legendarium gives up the ring so easily. Now let's look at Gollum. Born a store hobbit, Gollum represents the opposite extreme. What happens when a hobbit is susceptible? But notice Tolkien's key point in letter 181. Gollum was not wholly ruined because of the hobbit strain in him. Even in total corruption, the hobbit's resistance remained faintly present. And that's look at why Sauron never saw hobbits coming. Sauron's blindness is critical to this story. In the Two Towers, it's revealed the Shire has been left alone because the enemy has not imagined that hobbits could be of importance. Sauron understands men, elves, wizards and dwarves. He understands political ambition, spiritual pride, and even lust for power. But what he does not understand is humility, obscurity, anonymity, contentment, smallness, mercy, and pity. These virtues are utterly alien to him. Thus, the hobbits are invisible to his methodology. They are the one kind of being that he cannot predict. Now let's look at Tolkien's philosophy and the power of the small. Tolkien repeatedly writes that small may do great deeds. He embeds this theme into the cosmology of Arda. Eru Iluvatar chooses the small to humble the mighty. In the Isle of Lindale, Eru brings beauty from Melkor's discord. In Lord of the Rings, he brings salvation from the smallest race, in a land that Sauron ignores. This is a deliberate theological design. Hobbits succeed because they embody humility, mercy, pity, loyalty, simplicity, love, and self-sacrifice. These are the spiritual opposites of Sauron. Where Sauron values domination, Hobbits value cooperation. Where Sauron values possession, Hobbits value sharing. Where Sauron values fear, the Hobbits valued hospitality. And where Sauron values might, Hobbits value gentleness. Thus, Hobbits represent the divine antidote to the ring. So now let's complete with a summary of why they really are resistant to the ring. Main reason is because they lack ambition. The ring has nothing to amplify. They reject domination. Their minds are resistant to this. They love simple pleasures, so fame and power do not tempt them. They possess humility, pride. The ring's main weapon fails, and they have cultural insulation. The Shire is a sanctuary of innocence. Because of this, they embody mercy and compassion, and they neutralize corruption. They have strong internal willpower that is subtle but unbreakable. They have no desire for immortality, a major temptation for the other races, and they are grounded in nature, like Bombadil to a lesser degree. Tolkien designed them theologically, to succeed where the mighty fail. In a world filled with powerful beings and mighty kingdoms, is the Hobbits, the smallest folk, who endure the longest under the greatest weight. Not because they are powerful, but because they are noble. Not because they are wise, but because they are humble. Because they love simple things, because they do not seek greatness, and this is why they achieve it. In the end, Middle-earth is saved not by strength, nor by magic, nor by immortality, but the quiet courage of ordinary hearts. This brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this lore deep dive into why Hobbits are the most resistant to the One Ring, then let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more content like this. In the description, you'll find a link to my other channel, where if you enjoy nerdy stuff, specifically Warhammer related things, then might I recommend looking at that, because over there we've been working on our spearheads for Age of Sigmar, we've also been working on Kill Team pretty recently and Warcry, but we are looking to venture into 40k. So if that sounds something you'll be into, then please have a look at that. Anyway, that'll be it from me today. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are in the world. And as always, bye for now, guys.